All right, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. So today we're going to dive into, first of all, I want to talk about Tony Finau. 3 wins.
Tony's on fire.
Yeah, in his last 7 starts. I mean, good for him.
Yeah,
we're going to dive into that in a second.
Deserved.
We've got some other big news, too. A possible leak of who might be going to live.
Love a good leak.
Between the lines a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a slip up on Sergio Garcia's side of it, where he may have kind of mistakenly told us who's coming over to live next. And then speaking of live, we'll talk a little bit about Cameron Smith and some of his statements talking about the majors. Obviously, one of the big news being that the Open Championship has already said that they are going to allow live players. So we got to talk about that. And then we'll want to dive into later in the show too, talking a little bit about Tiger.
Yeah, next month is Tiger month.
Yeah,
right?
From going to seeing none of Tiger, we're going to go to see a whole lot of Tiger because we've got 3 events that he's committed to. And we got to talk about Charlie too, because it's like, who's making more headlines at this point?
That's true.
Tiger or Charlie?
That's true, yep.
Right? Because they're both making the headlines and making some headlines together, including some iconic photo that we saw just this past week of Tiger really stepping into that dad role.
Yeah.
With Charlie, which
I got
is
a lot
just
to say
awesome
about
to
that.
see. But let's first talk about Tony Finau. He was, I mean, the only way to describe it, he was in video game mode. Everybody in the field, in Houston this past week was playing for second place, and they knew that.
Yeah, for sure.
He was just uncatchable. 16 under. He just missed on 18, which would have put him to 17 under. I mean, literally just sat on the lip. But I love watching Finau play.
Same. I love his swing. That shortened swing.
It's so compact and powerful. And earlier, I mean, just rewinding the clock like a month or so ago, remember he went out and shot like the casual 60 on like an 8,000-yard hole?
Oh, on the 8,000-yard course. Yes. Yes.
Duh, 8,000
8,000-yard hole.
I got to keep drinking this coffee. Monday mornings, whatever.
Yeah, Zach's elevation.
Yeah, no, it was at elevation, but still, what I'm saying is to go out there, you could just start to see the things that were clicking, that Finau's game was coming together. But 3 wins in 7 events, that makes 5 PGA Tour wins, in his career so far. I tell you what, I think he's just the type of guy that he can roll this momentum, and he's got the game to be a FedEx Cup champ.
I think he's going to win a lot this year. Like in the next wraparound, and I'm excited for him. And again, I'm going to come back to it. I think, Frank, we give guys the juice. We do, man.
We do.
When we're lucky enough and very fortunate to score like an interview from one of these guys or something with them, they tend to go on and win, and then we make it about ourselves. But no, I joke with that because we were fortunate enough to quickly grab Tony for a fun interview at TPC River Highlands, and then I think he went on and won like a week later, was one of the first ones he won. So he has 3 in the last 7 starts.
Yep.
And but I want to see him win a major, and I think he will. And I think he'll be a force in Augusta.
I'm going to
call it early.
He's one of those guys too that I think when he wins a major, the rest of the players like show up for him.
Yes.
You can just tell like he's one of those guys who's well liked, well respected on tour. I think he's a great role model. He's a good family guy. You see him like if you follow some of his like personal accounts, you see like he brings his family with him to a lot of the events. They seem like a very close knit unit. So I mean, I'm rooting wholeheartedly for the guy, and it was great to see.
His son gives him a lot of crap. Like that, what happened on that putt? You know what I mean? And it's great. I love hearing those stories. It's super cool. I mean, do you see him potentially winning at Augusta? Let me ask you this.
I 100% think he has the chops to win there.
Let me ask you again. If the live guys are at Augusta, do you see him winning at Augusta?
I don't think they make that big of a difference.
The field gets stronger.
Yeah, the field gets a little bit stronger.
Brings Tony down a little bit. Nah, I don't know.
Here's the thing. It's such a hard case to argue because the field at Augusta is going to be incredibly strong no matter what.
True.
When you talk about live, you're thinking guys like, no doubt, like a guy like Cam Smith can win. DJ. DJ is a former winner there. Right. So I think if you bring the live guys over, it increases the field strength a little bit. I don't think that it's a pouring in because you got Patrick Reed, who's a winner there before too.
That's true.
But Bryson DeChambeau, Augusta has never been. And for as much noise as he made calling it whatever he called it, like a par 68,
right, and
trying to figure it out every which way, he's never performed well there. So I think it's maybe adding 5 or 6 guys to an already very strong field.
True.
I don't think it's a big momentum shifter, but I think that he's got the game to win, whether it's there or somewhere else. He's got the power. He's got the all around game. So I look to see a lot more from him.
Same.
But speaking of video game mode, sidebar for a second. I recently downloaded that 2K23.
Welcome aboard.
And I know you've been playing a lot of it. I want to get your take on this game because admittedly, I don't play video games like I used to.
Sure.
You know, pre-kids, pre-marriage, I played a lot. I can say right now it's almost never. But I had to check it out. Everyone was talking about it. And I'll say it's cool. Like the amount that they pack into this game, the career mode specifically.
Well, what did you do? Like
I did career mode. And I got frustrated because I couldn't.
School PGA Tour?
I couldn't even get on the Corn Ferry Tour.
It's hard, man.
I had to play the Q School Corn Ferry 5 times just to make it onto the Corn Ferry Tour.
I mean, you could skip all that, but I could see. I like doing it from the start. I like going.
That's what I did. I'm like, let's just start wherever I start. And one thing I didn't do is like, if you really wanted to stretch this thing out, like when I was younger, I used to do this. Like you ever play like baseball and you play the full season?
Yeah,
like I used to do
done
that
full
like,
seasons
when we had plenty of time. Now, like
quick.
you could play all 4 rounds of every event. If you
you're doing 4 rounds?
No. What I'm saying is I abbreviated it. It's 1 round.
Always run round.
Yeah.
I've never gone more than 1 round.
Because that's you got to have a lot of time on your hands. You got to have a lot of time. But I go and I play the Q School. But what I'm saying is what I'm very impressed with from the career mode was how it's got all the different courses. Because I remember like back in the day, like I'm probably revealing our age here, but thinking about some of the video games, you were lucky if it came with like 5-6 courses.
In the golf games, yes.
Right, because it can only hold so much on like the little disc or whatever.
Right.
But now it's cool to have like playing all the courses and playing the real courses. Like I just played a Corn Ferry Tour event at TPC Sawgrass.
It's super cool.
It's cool.
And I like to, what I normally do is I'll just forget about career mode, just go in and play a course that you've just played. That's been like I went and did Whistling Straits when we got home.
Yeah.
And just to see how identical it is.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. And then some of the courses, people actually take the time to build them to the point where like my local course, Ballyowen is ridiculous. Spot on.
Yeah.
You know, I think I shot a 50. I think I shot a 49 there on the video game.
49.
Ballyowen from the front tees on a video game. Forget it.
Well, I'm playing the career mode. The one thing I don't get into is like the equipment and like buying like what does this ball do and you know like
no,
I don't
just play.
I don't understand that because it's just like I feel like maybe I'm leaving something on the table. I'm like, well, this ball like the characteristics that they come up with like it spins more but it bounces less. Like what is it, a bouncy ball?
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like just put the main balls in the game. Like give me my Pro V1.
Right.
I'll just know I'm playing the ball I want.
And they got them available. You just got to buy them.
You do have? Oh, all right. Well,
so I'm
then
Titleist TSI still. They don't have the TSR yet. Maybe they got to upgrade the game. But I'm fully Titleist throughout the bag. And I'm fully FootJoy head to toe. You got to see my avatar. It looks just like me. I got the beard. Dude, it's funny.
That's so funny. We play this game so opposite. I just fired up and playing it. I have the default guy, whatever he looks like. His name is Pro Golfer.
Got a sweater vest on.
His name is Pro Golfer.
Yes, Pro Golfer.
I didn't even bother.
I've stuck with Pro Golfer for a while, and then my kids were like, "Daddy, change the name."
Right. But whatever. I think it's one of those things that we're gonna talk next week. We're gonna do a roundup of some of the Black Friday deals and some of the holidays. I think it's going to be one of the hottest things talked about on the holiday gifts. For golfers and stuff this year because it's an incredible game.
Sure.
It's a great way, to get like a little bit of a golf fix once in a while. Because you can play 18 holes on this game in like...
And you hold down the Y button after a shot, it speeds everything
15, 20 minutes.
Max.
You can play.
Max.
But what I do like is the career mode and you get to see like going through the Corn Ferry and you've got to be in the top 50 or win X amount of events to move on to the PGA Tour. So it gives you that kind of like...
Yeah. But, you know, it's my least favorite thing about the game. When you're playing in a tournament, they're like, we're going to cut down a Bryson down on the... And I'm just hitting the button. I'm like, I don't care. You can't skip through it. You can skip through it. Yeah. They have to show you all the people that are playing in the field. Let's go to Furyk. I'm like, who cares? I just want to play.
You just want to play.
Yeah. I mean, you can disable that. I don't know.
I've had it where like they say the wrong thing. And it's frustrating.
Yes.
Be like, what was he doing there? And you like leave a putt short like this much. I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, going back to it though, like... what we were talking about before with the majors and stuff like that. The other big news, obviously, was the Open at least coming through and saying, because the tension that's building is for a lot of the live guys is whether or not they're going to be able to play in the majors. Well, the Open came out and said, direct quote was, "We're not banning anyone. We're not going to betray 150 years of history and not have the Open not be open. So the relief at least there is that anybody here's the kicker, qualified to play in the Open will be able to play in the Open.
Right.
So at least a lot of these guys, like I'm thinking like Cam Smith specifically. Imagine if you didn't have the defending champ there. That would be. But one thing that Liv continues to struggle with is the official World Golf Rankings. We even saw it's becoming such a point of contention. We've seen a lot of speculation about Greg Norman being nixed as the CEO.
Right.
It's like a lot of people are putting some of the weight on him of why they haven't gotten the official World Golf Rankings. Is he not making the right deals? But the reality is you're going to start to see guys who would have otherwise been in the official World Golf Rankings high enough to automatically qualify for the Open, and they may not because they've been playing on Liv.
So eventually, a lot of these guys, it's safe to say that they may fizzle. If they never get world ranking points at Liv, they're just going to fizzle out and not be allowed.
Unless they find other ways to qualify, which you can go through qualifiers. You may start to see.
For the Opens, you can.
Let's say like
DJs at your local like Monday qualifier at Spook Rock.
Well, it would be for the Open. It would be overseas.
But I'm saying for the U.S. Open, because you know the USJ is going to follow. They can't not, if the RNA is going to do it. The USGA is also pride themselves on being open.
It's a good point. I think the only one that might go the PGA Tours route, remember, they're separate entities, but the PGA, the PGA Championship.
Right.
The PGA and the PGA Tour, it's confusing, but they're not the same entity.
They're not, but aren't they under the same umbrella?
No, there's the PGA and the PGA Tour operate separately. So, but there's a little bit of a more between the two of them. They're a little bit more closely linked.
Yeah.
That I could see, because what I mean by that, I mean like they share a lot of similarities in like, not necessarily exactly in leadership or whatever, but I just could see those two working together. But that's speculation.
Yeah, the PGA Tour was Live in the 60s.
The
PGA Tour was Live in the 60s.
Because of the PGA. Well, because the PGA would put on events, right? And then the PGA Tour is its own entity. But what I'm saying is, let's say for the Open, if you had guys who fall out of the official World Golf Rankings because they're not accruing any points, but they still have the chops to play in the Open, they may have to take a couple of weeks off from whatever their regular schedule is and go through the Open qualifiers.
Yeah.
I think a guy like DJ is going to win his way through the Open qualifiers and win his way onto the Open. But we saw it with Ricky Fowler. Ricky Fowler was trying to get into the U.S. Open by going through qualifiers.
True. Local qualifiers, right.
So there's ways that they can still do it if they're not outright banned. But this was a big one. And
Interesting.
Cam Smith was making the news in a recent podcast, and actually he was talking with, I think it was an Australian media outlet. And he was talking about like why it would be such an issue if the majors don't let the players in.
Yeah.
And he said, this is a quote from Smith. He said, "I think the majors really have to stand above all the politics. If they really want the best product and the best players playing against each other in the world, they have to let us play. There's no reason other than playing another tour that suggests we shouldn't play. We're definitely good enough players. We should have those spots." And he makes a strong point. I mean, his point is that if the idea behind the majors is that it's the collection of the best golfers in the world getting together to play this, and that's the draw, then there's going to be a certain degree of people thinking like, well, this has lost a little luster if there's a few of the best players sitting out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the majors are going to give up on them. I think the Live players will be at all the majors, except for the PGA Championship. Like I said, that might be one where their buddies. Something might weird to happen. I don't know, but I think the other three, no doubt.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I even think the PGA would probably still let them in because I don't think they want to be the one major that doesn't. Because I don't see, at the end of the day, I don't see Augusta not inviting back previous winners. Right. That would change so much. I mean, that's the thing. Like once you win at Augusta, like you can come back every year. Like
it's just awkward. I think that's the only.
There's no doubt that it'd be a little
like
bit
that
awkward.
Champions Dinner has like 4 or 5 Live guys there.
Well, look at all the back and forth we saw with Phil Mickelson, and it was he really asked not to come or was he not? But like, yeah, it could be. I mean, it becomes like a Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
you've got maybe a couple people in the family who are fighting, but they're all there.
They're all there,
and it's just a little uncomfortable. But you're still family, so everybody's there.
Yeah,
Yeah. But who knows if we'll see that? But I think that the Masters. I think you're right. I think the U.S. Open will follow in suit with the Open and say, look, we're an Open as well. I mean, in a way, it's a way for them to avoid the politics of just saying like, that's what we are. We're an open.
Yeah,
so
true.
we're just open. The Masters though is an invitational, but they may say, look, this is the tradition of the Masters. We're going to have everybody here, and then who knows if the PGA follows suit. But that's what Cam was saying. But the other big thing news that came out of that interview was he was talking about how it didn't leave a good taste in his mouth the way that some players were digging at the other tours that they had come from. And what he said, and part of his quote was speaking even specifically about the DP World Tour. Let's see what he said here. He said the angst comes from the guys who have come through pathways on the DP World Tour, backstabbing that tour, saying how bad it is. That's the part that irks me. I just don't think you should bag where you've come from. And it's true. I mean, I can see some of these guys, and they've made the jump over to live because of the gripes. Even like going back to what Phil Mickelson said, they have a little bit of a bone to pick or a gripe with the tour. But the truth is that if they hadn't excelled on the tours that they did excel on, they would have never gotten the invite.
Sure enough.
And ultimately the huge paycheck to play on live. Right. So I kind of agree with Cam there. It might be just saying like, yep, that tour is what it is. I've left there and I'm over here now.
Yep.
Rather than going in on them. But it was an interesting thing to see, like even a guy like Cam who's a little bit nervous that he may not get the invite for some of those majors. But look at the Masters. Like I said, if you were not a previous winner, same problems can possibly come into effect, even more so because there isn't a qualifying process for the Masters.
Nope.
If I mean,
you're right.
It's at the end of the day, like if you're not winning on the PGA Tour because you're not on the PGA Tour, so and you're falling out of the official World Golf Rankings, and you're not a previous winner. Some of these guys, they may not have that coveted invitation.
Right. So like Cam Smith is a great example. And
because
in 5 years, if he never gets a single official World Golf Ranking point again, and he fizzles to the 180 in the world,
right?
We won't see him at the Masters.
So we'll see him playing. His exemption at the Open is till he's age 60.
Yeah, so he's good there.
Right? So we'll see him playing there, but we may not see him playing at Augusta.
Does the Masters results give you any form of exemption?
I don't think
unless
so.
you win. You have to win to get exemption into it again?
You win, you're locked in for life.
Well,
but like if you get second, like they don't care?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've never heard that.
No, but what you do have
possibly
is
maybe
a lot of crossover between the majors, like we were just saying there. So like if you win the Open, you do have an exemption to the Masters. So that is another way that a guy like Cam Smith, now that I'm thinking of this, he is exempt. He's got his invitation for the Masters.
Because he won at the Players.
Because he won the Open.
Because he won the Open, right.
If you win the Open,
That's
you
what I
also
meant,
get 5 years at the Masters.
Right.
So some of these guys, if they're not getting official World Golf Rankings, what they might look to is trying to win another
Cam's
major.
good for 5 years. He also gained 5-year exemption to the Masters, the PGA Championship, and the U.S. Open. And they also earned memberships to both the DP World Tour and PGA Tour for 5 years, but they kicked them off.
So but they're suspended from
them. So, yes.
Right, exactly.
So, geez, if you won the Open, like you're set for 5 years. Sorry, I almost broke the TV behind me. You're set.
You're set. Well, you're set for exemptions for sure. That's why it's often
exemptions. Like you have 5 years on
career
all tours.
Changing for certain guys.
Jeez.
Exactly. But the other big thing we got to talk about here, Sergio Garcia, and speaking a little bit about live and stuff like that, he may have unintentionally.
It was unintentional. Okay.
It's definitely unintentionally revealed who we're going to see as the next big live signing. And just to kind of.
But are we sure? Are we saying he was just in a photo that he put out? And everyone's speculating. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So Sergio Garcia.
Uh-huh.
And this is where he may have mistakenly given away who the next big signing is for live. So first, how do we get here? Well, Greg Norman recently had talked about wanting to sign, I think he was like seven more players before the end of the year. So what happened was the speculation started flying like crazy again, and we saw a couple of names keep popping up. Two of the big ones were Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele.
Okay. Yep.
Out of those two, the one who's weighed in now again was Schauffele saying, no, it's rumors, it's not happening, I'm not leaving. I think that's a dead horse that's been beat a little bit too much. That one's you're not gonna keep seeing that.
Right.
The other two were Thomas Peters, other three I should say, Thomas Peters, Mito Pereira, and Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay, he hasn't come out as strongly and said anything as Xander has, but I still feel like if we're ranking these on the order of chance, he's a little bit probably lower. But here's where the kind of the slip up happened. So Sergio Garcia had an event, a charity event, for Kids ATX. And as part of that, they posted this picture, this now notorious picture.
Yeah.
And in the picture was a lineup of his live cohorts, right? So you had the four aces, all the guys on four aces, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Taylor Gooch, they were there. Also, Koepka, Schwartzel, Henrik Stenson, they're all there. But one person who's not currently on live, who was there, which raised some eyebrows, was Mito Pereira. Right?
Ding, ding, ding.
So now the idea is like, okay, the speculation has already been there. Now he's pictured with a whole bunch of live guys. What was he doing there? You know, is this kind of like a buddy thing that's happening as they're getting closer? Because we've also heard things with live, with guys like possibly picking their teammates, and maybe they start to schmooze each other, and all those types of things.
And before you go on, if you guys are wondering, if you're in the car listening, you're wondering who Mito is, remember back at Southern Hills PGA Championship, he carried the lead into the last hole. He put his drive into the water, and JT was able to sneak up and win it and steal it from him, and that's how he got his notoriety. So
exactly, he hung on in a major. He's got the chops. Chilean golfer, but it makes me think of something interesting. And this is my own personal speculation here, but I just wonder if this does come to fruition, and it very much looks like it based on the rumors we've had now putting it together with this picture. But if it does come to fruition that Mito Pereira is the next signing, a Chilean golfer, is live starting to maybe even change a little bit of their focus to more of an international audience, because they've continually come up against stonewalls here in the States when it comes to broadcast. Broadcast is going to be there's two big things that are going to end up being whether lives or dies. And then I think that's broadcast rights and official world golf rankings. Because official world golf rankings is what all the players want, so that they can get into all the events that they want to get into and maintain their status in the rankings to playing majors and all those types of things. Broadcast rights are what all the investors want.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, this thing can only survive just so long on YouTube and on a website. It's not generating the revenue that it wants to. Now, we did a whole talk about this recently, saying how we've seen so much turned down, and where is this thing being shown? And a lot of you chimed in the comments, which thank you for telling us, because a lot of your international audience are watching this, and something that we don't here in the States see live much other than on YouTube, right? But supposedly there's a lot more overseas streaming services that are carrying live, and there's a lot more ways to watch it on streaming, even though they don't have official broadcast yet. So it makes me wonder, is live going to start to do a little bit of a pivot, go for the guys with the international draw, and try to build this thing from a viewership standpoint overseas a little bit more, where I don't know, because I don't live over there. I don't know the vibe. I don't know what we see here in the States is like this a lot of like hardcore discussion of like the Saudis, and it becomes very political here.
Sure. Yep.
I don't know if there's the same political view on this thing and outside of
I doubt it, right?
I don't know. I don't know what other countries,
a lot of the emotion,
what their affiliation is with Saudi Arabia, how much.
True enough, we don't know that.
But it makes me wonder, does live now take this money that maybe they're not getting Xander to pick up, because I think they threw another big number at him. Does somebody like Hideki Matsuyama's number keep going up now? Because now, do they saying like, look, there's a huge viewership audience in Japan. Yeah. Maybe if we can get a broadcast,
I have a
deal
prediction.
there.
He's going to be the biggest paid live guy to sign in the history of live.
From a business standpoint, it very well could be.
Because of the market.
Pick up now we know like those rumors have come and gone, and it's
you get Hideki.
So
you
far,
get
we
Japan.
haven't seen
you
the
get
sign.
the entire country of Japan.
Right, but what kind of talks are going on behind the scenes? Are there talks with broadcasters in Japan saying, look, if we get Hideki, do we get a broadcast there? And then now the numbers are tied together. It's not just getting Hideki, it's getting a broadcast deal.
Correct.
What's that worth to you?
That's what I thought was happening the last time that Hideki was being talked with Liv. They were saying that the PGA Tour's broadcast deal with Japan was reliant on Hideki staying. So
see, that's no doubt that this is gonna be on both sides of that coin. They're gonna be fighting the other way, and the PGA Tours and say, well, if you get, because the PGA Tour since the start has been throwing their weight around to try to stop this thing.
Right.
So they may be going to their broadcaster and saying, if you're broadcasting this and whatever. But what I'm saying is, with the PGA Tour, still having, I'd say, the bulk of its viewership and everything like that being domestic here in the United States. Does Liv start to say, like, listen, that's where the battle's hardest fought. So let's start fighting the battles elsewhere. Let's start looking for some, maybe some more international signings that might lead to more international audience, that might need some more international broadcast. And we could build this thing.
Right.
I don't know, but I think if this does come true, it could be an indication that a guy like Mito Pereira might be like, let's start to make Liv a little bit more of an international focus. Because right now, like I said, they're just hitting too many brick walls here in the States.
I think so, and I think that could be the way they trend. I mean, look at their exposure worldwide. So many different countries, just from the 48 current Liv roster now.
Right. Well, the other big name that's been thrown around a lot is Victor Hovland.
There you go. Another country.
Now, like, imagine you pick up Hovland, and now, like, that European component continues to grow. We mentioned Sergio Garcia and Spain and stuff like that. So it remains to be seen, but regardless, whether it was intentional or not, I'm sure it was not intentional. It was just posting a photo of all the players that were there at the charity event. But the first thing the internet picked up on this picture, which normally would just kind of go by as just yet another social media post about a charity event,
right?
It got picked up. All the news outlets are running with it and saying, like, wait a minute, all those guys make sense being there except Mito Pereira. Like, is this telling us something? And it remains to be seen. So stay tuned, and we'll find out if that's the big one.
Interesting. It makes the most sense. It's probably almost like 99.9%.
Yeah. And then we'll see who they sign after that. Anyway, let's do this. Let's do a quick break, quick word from our sponsors, and then I want to dive into talking a little bit about Tiger and Charlie, because we're going to see a lot of Tiger these next couple of weeks. So
yeah, young goat's bulking up, dude.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about it.
He's looking good. So let's do a quick break from our sponsors, and then we'll get back into it.
All right, we all know Titleist is the #1 ball in golf, but do you know how they earn this title? Well, it's simple. The Pro V1 and the Pro V1X are the most played golf balls in the game. And you know what? It's not even close. In fact, most weeks, more than 70% of the field tee up a Pro V1 or a Pro V1X. And the numbers are even more impressive at the amateur level, where they're the #1 choice at the NCAAs, the U.S. Amateur, the U.S. Women's Amateur, the U.S. Junior, and so on and so forth. Guys, make Titleist your #1. Tee up a Pro V1 or Pro V1X on your next round, and always bring your best.
All right, it's official. The cold is finally really starting to show its ugly head here, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop playing golf. We're going to play like we always do until there's snow on the ground. I know a lot of you want to too, especially if you live in regions like I do where it's just like the season just seems too short. Yeah. Well, don't worry. FootJoy's got you covered. This new Thermo series is truly worth its weight in gold because it really helps extend the season. It's their most advanced apparel layering system ever, and it features layering items that are designed specifically for you to help you play golf in all weather conditions. The collection has base layers, mid layers, outer layers, and even pants, and it's made with materials that move with you without restriction. So we could all be warm out there if we were like George Costanza and his Gore-Tex. Remember that?
Yep.
But like if you can't move, you can't play golf. So like the real fine art of the Thermo series is creating that warmth, but making it lightweight, not bulky, able to kind of move, and the way the system works together is what I love the most, because the layering allows you, as the day changes, and we all know, especially this time of year, cold in the morning, cold at the end of the day, but the middle can be a little bit nice, being able to kind of layer up with those mid layers, base layers, and be able to take them on and off very easily and comfortably as you play. You just get to play more golf. So the Thermo series, go check it out. Check out the entire lineup. And by the way, we were talking about how great it makes you feel. We're not even talking about how great it looks. Some of my favorite designs, materials, colors in the lineup that I've seen in a long time. So check out footjoy.com. Check out the entire Thermo series lineup. have those pieces ready, and then you're going to be playing further into the fall and even into the winter, dare I say winter, and much earlier this spring with the Thermo Series.
We'll be bringing a drill soon to drill tees into the ground.
Yeah, whatever it takes
Whatever
to play.
it takes, man.
As long as there's no snow on the ground. FootJoy's got you covered. Go to footjoy.com to find out more.
Hey, before we talk Tiger and Charlie, the whole thing about George Costanza just reminded me. This whole thing with Liv and these other, broadcast deals outside. I'm thinking of the Seinfeld episode when they couldn't get the deal done, so they brought it to Japan.
Yeah.
And they went to the NBC. He's like, NBC? And he's like, yeah, the Nagasaki Broadcast Corporation. Quiz question for you, though. Do you remember the name of the show that Jerry was a hit?
The Good Time Happy Hour?
Close. The Super Terrific Happy Hour.
Super terrific.
I tried to see if you
happy
knew
hour.
that.
I remember him getting the royalty checks in the mail. They were like 2 pennies.
2 pennies. And he
And
brought
he's-
the bag of oranges to the meeting. He's like, why is he bringing orange?
Right. And he's like hurting his hand signing them. Because it's a,
carpal tunnel.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, good times. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, so anyway, talking about Tiger. So what events has he committed to recently?
The Hero, which is his event that he hosts in the
and
Bahamas.
he's been there before, but we're talking about committing to playing.
Now he's playing it. I don't think he played last year, but he's always there.
Yep.
It's played based on how he feels. So he's playing this year.
So the Hero, we've got the PNC,
The
right?
PNC,
Which is going to be the father-son again.
father-son, which I know it's probably his most excited, and as
Which
well as
now I think so many people are looking forward to. Didn't the viewership of last year's PNC, when it was John Daly and John Daly Jr., who are their own big draw,
Yep.
and Tiger
Yep.
and Charlie, I think the viewership rivaled some of the biggest PGA Tour
did.
events.
It did, and it's going to be electric because you'll have those forward people again.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's so funny. It's like for a non-really official event, for the amount of attention that it draws.
It's great.
It just shows
we
you.
get Tiger at the end of the year.
It's these names that just draw the name.
And then the match. When is the match? Rory, JT, and Tiger and Rory versus JT and Spieth. As we get closer, we'll probably do more of a feature on that. But
And it's going to be under the lights. That's what
And
I'm
it's under the
excited
lights.
for. It's going to be under the lights. They're going to have the whole course done up like a football field. I think it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be dope. I want to see more golf under the lights. I something about just watching that ball flight with the light, but also I love it because that's a crew of guys who are all very tight, but chirp each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they're mic'd up.
Yep.
And I think you're going to get some gems.
You're going to get a lot of gems because those guys love to like rib on each other. There's going to be a lot of trash talk, especially like JT and Tiger.
And Tiger's the ultimate subtle trash talker.
Yeah.
I still remember that time he walked up to JT's ball in the fairway, looked at it, and he says, "That one's yours," and he kept walking to his.
I love it. And we're going to see a lot
It's
of that.
subtle.
This is actually, and when a post goes out on social media, you can usually get a gauge from the comments. And a lot of the comments are positive, saying things like, this is finally a match I'm looking forward to. Enough of the NFL quarterback stuff.
Yeah.
Enough of this. This is it. And you know what? They might have got it right here. These are 4 biggest names in the game.
Right. It goes back to the days of like Wide World of Golf. You know what I mean? When you would you take these like exhibition matches, like it would be Hogan against where, like you would take like the best guys and just put them head to head and let's just go play.
And
But, I doubt this is as serious as that. But these guys are, I don't know. These guys are all like contenders. They don't want to lose.
Exactly. And that's why I was just about to say, I wouldn't even know how to bet on this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who would win. Everyone would be like, oh, Tiger's old and it's
What's
Rory's
the
going to
structure?
carry him.
Do you know the structure this year? Is it a best
Good question.
ball? It's definitely not a scramble, but is it a best ball, like low score on the whole counts?
It's got to be that way. Because I think that's how they were in the past.
Probably.
Could you imagine a 2-ball like scramble though? Like best ball scramble?
Because it's just one round, right? So they're not going to be like one day's all shot, one day's
Right. They'll just play the best score of the guy on the team.
That's
a
it.
true scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, true
True best ball.
Best ball.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be exciting to watch, and it's going to be exciting to watch the dynamic of Tiger and Charlie. But the other thing that's just been so incredible to watch has been the what I would call rapid progression of Charlie Woods.
Everything physical, golf game.
He's right at that age now when you're going to start to like.
He's developing. He's 13.
Quickly, like
right?
he's
13.
putting on,
You said.
Yeah, he's getting taller. He's putting on some muscle, but what you can see in his swing is his development as a golfer. Like whereas we watched him even last year, he seemed like a kid out there.
Yep.
And it would just be like, whoa, like it was almost like, look what this kid can do, right? And you saw the raw talent.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think what you're seeing is his true development as a golfer. You're starting to see like the influence of his swing coach, the influence that Tiger clearly has over him on his mental game and stuff. Now, we're not writing this kid his ticket ahead of time to the PGA Tour and stuff. Because at the end of the day, as great as his swing looks, he played in that recent event, Nota Begay's event, and it's not like
he didn't win
blew out the
He
field.
finished 11th.
I mean, the kid who won was like 15 under.
15 under to Charlie's 1 under.
Yeah. So it's not, but what I'm saying is we're seeing like he's human. He's not, if anybody thinks he's going to be like this immediate, like.
He's at a disadvantage.
In some ways.
I feel. In some ways, correct.
In some ways.
He's got a team that any kid at that age could dream of.
Right.
But he's got a spotlight none of those kids have.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just even the access to Tiger. I mean, if you just think
why
about
is he so jacked now?
the fact that anytime you can be like, hey, Dad, what am I doing wrong here? I mean,
so huge advantage there, but he's got to live in that spotlight forever. And he's still got to compete.
That was one of the hard things for Tiger. Tiger had to grow up in the spotlight and live that way and live with that pressure. But what it made him was very mentally strong. He could tune those galleries, those crowds out because he grew up that way.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Charlie knows, like, if someone's coaching that kid at a young age, like, don't try to be as good as your dad. Don't try to be that guy. Don't try to be Tiger Woods.
Or try to be better than him.
Or try to be better
than him. Think about this. Like, that's a huge motivation for Tiger. I
guess it's any way you look at it.
He himself against Jack Nicklaus and the other greats and said, I want to be better. Tiger, that was competitive nature that did that. But regardless, I mean, we're watching this kid swing. It's just so technically sound. I've been seeing like a lot of, and even for his age, he's so young, and a lot of like golf coaches and stuff online on Instagram breaking this thing down and just showing all the things he does well. Mm-hmm. I think now it's just the right thing, which what Tiger's doing is getting him into some competition, getting some feel for that. Competitive golf is at the end of the day, it's its own separate animal.
It is, yeah.
And learning to put him in certain spots and how he's going to develop as a golfer. But I think you're going to see a very rapid rise. I don't think it's going to be like phenom status, like where you have like some of these 14, 15-year-olds who've never heard of before come out of nowhere. And they're, I think that, and I don't think Tiger even wants that. I think Tiger would rather see him not burn incredibly hot in the beginning and have to keep up that pace. Mm-hmm. I could see Tiger being like, let's go through and get you developed and get you, your starts in your different events that are going to whatever, and then get him rolling.
Do you think he goes to college?
I think wouldn't he?
Wow.
Why wouldn't he?
If he's just so dominant, he's 13, right? So imagine you go to college when you're 18, so he's got 5 years to become this phenom, and he's already on the tour. Let's say at that point, I'm just speculating if he is.
I see the way how important Tiger's career was in college at Stanford.
But Tiger had to go to college. Tiger Woods was nobody before he became Tiger Woods. Charlie Woods is the son of Tiger Woods.
But Tiger was a phenom before that too. Tiger was an amateur phenom.
It's true. True. I'm not going to take that away.
Right.
Nope.
Tiger was an amateur, and I think that the focus of the Woods family will be to do what it takes to get him, as long as he wants it. Because at the end of the day, this kid doesn't have to play golf. He doesn't have to work a day in his life.
Correct.
The kid's he's inherited billions.
Right.
Right. But if that's what he wants, I think Tiger helps him get on the right path. I think what you'll have is possibly a really good junior career, and then where he tries to win maybe a junior amateur or something like that. And then I think after that, you'll have Tiger and he looking at what college coaches might be the best fit for him to continue to develop him as a player.
Yeah.
Because they learn a lot at that college level.
That's true. They do.
Coach.
They do.
College is also different now than it was when Tiger went to college. Charlie's going to go to college like a celebrity if he does decide to go to college. So that might be an aspect why he wouldn't go to college, because if he went to college, he could potentially go to college and have this big name and get distracted. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I think Tiger will help guide him away from distraction, because Tiger had a lot of his own distractions. But I think if they see it as a stepping stone for him to develop, Tiger, I mean, he's not going to want him to make those same mistakes either. Look at Tiger. Tiger made a lot of mistakes when the fame came on hot and heavy. And
right.
then I think what was keeping him kind of in order was his father, and then losing his father. And
after that, he kind of went off the rails.
Right? And now he's matured, at least seemingly. It seems like he's matured, and I think he wants to take on that role for his son. But I could see him playing college
Stanford only. I could see Tiger saying, if you don't go to Stanford, just don't even bother.
I could see him wanting to do the alum thing, but I could also see, like I said, if he sees a coach out there that might be the right fit, the right thing for him to continue that pursuit, I think Tiger's the type of guy who understands the long game of golf rather than, I don't think that there's no money incentive or other incentive for Charlie to come out the gate and try to just burn it out on the PGA Tour early.
That's true.
You know?
That's true, yeah.
It's a tough one to say. But who knows? Maybe he has his own records in mind. I want to be the youngest to this. I want to be the youngest to that.
That's true. And you know what's interesting about that Nota Begay tournament? We weren't able to watch it. We just saw social media clips. So I think with the PNC, we're able to physically watch it and watch his short game. Yes. We'll get a little more into it when we see a 1 year more mature than last year Charlie. And I think it's going to be night and day from last year. Just by his size, by some of the swings I'm seeing. So I think we're in for a treat.
I'll be very interested to see how his mental game is developing.
That's another thing.
At the end of the day, you and I all know, I mean, it's tough at that age to be mentally as mature as you need to be. It's very easy at that age to get super frustrated, to have things rattle you. So I'll be interested to see not only like what everyone wants to share and see on social media, which is the great shots. I want to see how the bad shots affect him, how he bounces back, how he's developing as a competitive golfer.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to tell us a whole lot.
Yeah, that, and I keep coming down to the fame and the shadow he's under. I mean, because the kid who went 15 under, he probably only had his parents following him that day, whereas Charlie Woods had a whole crew.
Oh my God!
It's
some
different.
Some of the clips that came out from that weekend were cracking me up a little bit.
Yeah,
there was one clip specifically where somebody was just panning down the fairway, and there was like 4 groups of kids, and then like 80 yards down the fairway was Tiger and Charlie.
Yeah.
Just insane. But then there was also one kid that didn't even have a caddy with him. Kid that was pushing his bag around alone, just getting after it.
Yeah.
And then there's Charlie with the greatest golfer, as
right.
his
It's
caddy.
cool.
It's so funny.
And that little iconic photo just popped where they were in like dusk, the two of them.
Yes.
They're super early. Sunrise.
But that's the thing. Like, if you look at it just on the surface and everybody is fawning over his swing and how he outdrove the other kids, it would look like he was completely dominant. But then if you check the leaderboard, he finished the middle of the pack. Somebody beat him by 10 strokes, which also tells you, I don't think it's a knock against Charlie. I think what it is just like how strong junior golf has become.
Yeah.
There are kids out there, as you said, there's probably a kid who's somewhere in the lead or somewhere in the head of that pack who doesn't have all those same resources.
Yep.
Who doesn't, but and is hungry.
Yeah.
And who knows, like what I'm saying. So I don't think what we're going to see, and I don't think we've seen yet as much promise as we've seen in the kid. I don't think we've seen an extreme, like, what he's going to light the world on fire immediately. There's a lot of strength of young golfers getting into the game. And the funny thing is, his own dad is what might have created a lot of that.
Right.
His father's the one who made so many young kids get into the game.
He made it harder for his son.
Right. He made it harder for his own son. But
that's funny.
I joke, but I mean, for real, there's a lot of strong junior golfers. So remains to be seen. But we've got golf. It's coming into December, but we still got some fun golf ahead of us. We're gonna get to see those events. So we'll have to see how that all unwinds, and then we'll start to wind it up for the January in Hawaii, and with the PGA Tour being officially back, and seeing how guys like Tony Finau, who traditionally has fared pretty well in Hawaii.
He loves Hawaii.
How he'll play.
I want to announce it here first that the Golficity team will be going to the Century.
It would be nice, right?
Yeah, it would be nice.
Just trying to slip that in there, see if they say
I think
yes.
you're just trying to manifest that into
right,
reality.
exactly.
But anyway, thanks for tuning in. As always, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and we'll see everybody again next week.